rituals are the part of your culture that people can witness and see and like attach meaning to and say, I was there when they talked about that. It doesn't have to be these big, well planned out things. It possibly is something you've already accidentally done that's just not repeated at a predictable rhythm.
If you don't have these, or maybe you feel like they could be better or more intentional, we want you to look around and say, what is a part of our culture? Because it's happening on accident. So let's make it happen on purpose.
Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. I'm your host, Brandon Welch, and I am joined by Caleb Guatemala Agee.
Hey, Guatemala.
Guatemala. Tell us about Guatemala.
Well, it is a country in Central America. I had the pleasure of going there a couple of years ago now. My grandma lives there, founded an orphanage, 15 or 20 years ago. I don't even know how old it is now. And she's lived there for a long time. And so it is the worst place in the world for women and children to live.
Wow. Because
of their justice system. And so if you're curious about that, it is James Project of Latin America. You can go check that out. It's the .org, but I can't remember the exact URL.
Because you are super generous, awesome, prosperous folk listening to this prosperous podcast, you're going to go do that. JamesProjectOfLatinAmerica.org?
I think so.
Go give some money to this cause. I'll let you read more about it. Didn't plan on endorsing that today.
Yeah, that was not a plan.
It is sincerely the Lord's work in its finest.
Yeah.
And
it's a very, very cool thing they're doing. It's shifted from, if we're going to sidetrack for a second, it's shifted from more of an orphanage thing to it's actually more of a foster care model. Because a lot of, a lot of orphanages were not it's just long-term indefinite care. And so the goal is to get kids back with an actual adult in their life instead of being in a big group home. And so, but for those months that they're there, they get their lives changed, which is pretty cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, speaking of big things, this is the place where we help you conquer your big dreams by eliminating waste in advertising so you can grow your business and then achieving that big dream. Did you see what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big dream minus. That was a B minus.
Big
transition.
dream sandwich right there.
Big dream sandwich. But that is why we're here. It's why we're here every Monday, and we are unpacking the essence of why small businesses grow. And we're doing that through marketing. We're doing that through culture. Today, we're going to talk about something just slightly different. This is a leverage on all things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you do these things we're going to talk about today, I promise you your marketing will work better, like magic. You won't have to change a single thing in your budget. You won't have to change a single click or platform or ad, and everything will just work better because it is about people. And there are some tie-ins to marketing, but we're going to talk about rituals and rhythm. What is the underflowing current in your business? And these are things you can do as the leader to put your team in this predictable, feel-good, extra output, tying the thing to a bigger thing than just the work you do. And I don't care if you are cleaning trash cans for a living or building orphanages or running a ministry or selling roofs or doing legal services. This works at all levels. And it's borrowed from some of the highest and best run organizations in the world. We're going to talk about some real studies where, just by doing these ritualistic things we're going to talk about today, I'm talking 30, 40, 50% increases in profitability.
Yeah. And I think the
byproduct, by the way.
Yeah. Profitability is a byproduct. Yeah. It's a bonus. We'll talk about the primary product, which is how it affects your team members. I think the danger when you look at these things is that you can see it as maybe a waste of time. You can see these rituals as boring or annoying. You're probably doing them wrong if that's what it is. There will be days that you show up for that ritual and it's like, I don't really want to do this today, but you need to show up anyways and do it anyways. And but they change things. If you think about your own personal life, unless you eat the right things every day, show up to the gym consistently,
read the right books or avoid the right amount of poison or whatever.
You won't be a healthy human. You won't have progress toward the things, the growth you want to see as a person. The same is true with your team. with your organization,
your kids, your marriage,
yes,
your friendships.
You've got to show up and you've got to do it on the regular. You can't just randomly find it. And so that's what we're going to talk to you about today.
On the other end, if you look at these things as hacks, I think you'll miss the mark completely. You'll miss the impact and really the opportunity to build something awesome. So what in the heck are we talking about with rituals? What is this? We have like, robes and essence, or what do they call those? Incense, not essence.
The essence of incense. Yeah. Get a guitar out and play Kumbaya around a fire.
I mean, maybe. We may have been known to do that a time or two.
Yeah.
So what in the heck are we talking about with rituals? What is a ritual, Mr. Caleb Agee?
Yeah. So most of the time, I think when you think of rituals, which is why we made the joke just a second ago about, Kumbaya and robes and, you get these images in your head because mostly the definition of it has to do with religious procedure. It's like, if you want a big word, liturgical, which is the common practices that you have inside of maybe a religious service.
It's a $13 word.
Yeah, there you go.
That's, you can count on Caleb for a $13 word.
That's right. Yeah. No more. I can't give you change for anything else. But so some definitions: an established or prescribed procedure for a religious or other rite, a system or collection of religious or other rites, observance of set forms of public worship. So that's what we typically think about, and those are some of the most common denotations.
Was
the
that
dictionary
my buddy Webster
definition.
There?
That's my buddy dictionary.com.
Dictionary.com.
The app.
So I think what we're talking about is more what Chip Conley, he was a hotel founder. I found this just in my study of rituals. He says rituals are the invisible architecture of brand loyalty. When you think about brand, we think often outward. What does the world see? But arguably way more important and way more foundational. I don't know that you can have a healthy outward brand if you don't have a healthy inward brand.
Yeah.
And he says rituals are the invisible architecture of brand loyalty. Another guy from IBM, the CEO of a little company called IBM, said culture is not just one aspect of the game, it is the game, and rituals are how culture becomes visible. So these guys are connecting it to, culture. And then I think what we defined it as, just writing down like something more practical. A ritual is a repeatable, intentional action that reinforces a shared value, belief, or identity within a group. And the group we're talking about is your company, your organization, your thing that you're leading.
Yeah.
And so we all do rituals to some degree every day, right? We have, teeth brushing. It would be a good one. Hopefully, Hopefully, do you have a ritual with your wife and kids before you leave the house?
Yeah. I mean, I always make the coffee first, and then Sierra and I make bagels. That's the next thing.
Wow.
It's whole wheat bagels and cream cheese, and then we split up and have separate quiet time. So
I love it.
It's kind of I don't know why I like the dinner table. She likes to sit on the couch, so that's like our own little quiet time. We try to get up before the kids. Then the kids wake up. Then we get ready.
Not so quiet time.
Not so quiet time. So yes, there's a morning routine, and the same's true in the evening.
Yeah.
There are those set up and tear down of the day to set you up for it.
Yeah. Love the quiet time one. Val and I both do the same thing in our own ways. I try to have a meaningful conversation with each kid before I leave the house.
Yeah.
There's some days that it has to be earlier than they're up, but either morning or evening, we have some like affirmation statements we read back to them.
Yeah.
And that's just a really powerful thing we've done since before they could talk.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to leave without at least saying goodbye and giving a hug.
Kiss. Yeah. There you go.
Everybody gets a hug and kiss on the way out.
Yeah.
And if they feel like I didn't do it properly, they're running out in their PJs through the garage. Dad, and like, all right, buddy, let's go, So.
Yes. In that same way, rituals help people know who they are and remind them what they're a part of. And would there be any more useful virtue in your business than people knowing why they're coming to work to give you the hours of their life? And that's what we're talking about here. So a lot of people listening to this podcast, you do a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was either just a byproduct of what happened when you were small and it continued. You have some regular celebrations, some regular ways of doing things. I think Randy Mays says culture is the way things are done around here. And so we're kind of talking about that. But what if we added just a little bit more intention to it and possibly made it a little more fun, a little more sticky? And we're calling that part rhythm, right? So rituals and rhythm are kind of closely tied. The ritual is the thing, the act, but the rhythm is how often you do
frequency.
It, right?
Yep.
So culture is not what you say, it's what you repeat. We're talking about creating momentum, reinforcing identity of your company. You don't just work somewhere, you belong to a bigger thing. You are creating clarity about what's important. And then inversely, and like just as a byproduct of that, when you have clarity about what's important, that's accountability to what's socially accepted amongst your peers, whether that be 5 of them in a small working group or 500 of them in a company. But I want to ask, what are you repeating in your business? And give some examples about, it could be really small things. We're going to share some stuff from our world and then our clients, but give us some ideas about what it could be like.
Yeah. This could show up in, a daily, weekly, monthly ritual. It could be a quarterly ritual. I would encourage you to have definitely some weekly ones. But I think at every level, there are different versions of a ritual. So you could have like a daily stand-up meeting in the morning, go over your list, like Big Rock, or we would have a Big Rock meeting sometimes in the morning. You could have a weekly all staff meeting, or you could
a huddle.
Yeah, a little huddle, or sit around the conference table, however that works. You can have awards or accolades. So you could recognize somebody in a specific week. You could have I would encourage you to like give those things names, like funny names, or just go for that. So we have a gong.
I was literally about to mention that. I'm looking right out our studio window here. Yeah, we have a gong. When something big happens, either personally or professionally or on the team, or a client had a big win, that gong's going to ring, right?
Yeah.
And people, you know what, are probably more than our employees that notice that, because it just becomes part of the thing over a while. Like, I've heard more clients come in and say, "What is that thing?"
Yeah.
Or prospects or people.
A couple of them have copied it, and they went and got their own gong.
Yeah.
So you can
One
go.
of them got a really, really big gong, like really expensive.
The full size
big mallet. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are huge.
Ours is like a 22-incher, but So you can do celebration rituals, you can do clarity rituals, you can do safety rituals if you're in some sort of a high risk environment. You should always, I think, do missional and visional rituals. And Nate can show you one of ours right now. Why are we here today, Nate?
We're here to create a world where entrepreneurs can confidently grow their business without wasting money on advertising.
Yes, we can.
Let's give him a hand. He got it.
He didn't even know we were going to do that to him. But anybody in these 4 walls, or maybe, I don't know, we have about 16 walls.
We have more walls than 4.
But anybody could do that here. And then we have 6 core values. Name a few of them, Nate.
Fill one glass at a time.
Yeah, fill one glass at a time.
Best friendships are forged around fires and food.
Best friendships are forged around fires and food.
Are you? Oh, your eyes are asking me right now.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 should be evident. You've heard one of them. This podcast has a ritual.
Yep.
But
we believe in saying what needs to be said, even if you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and the second one is we believe marketers who can't teach you why are just a fancy lie. Pulled right from our value of being a Maven, right? And so there are 3 others that we didn't mention, but those are literally how we start our week. Those bounce off of our walls. We hear each other saying it. And it goes back to that rituals are the part of your culture that people can witness and see and like attach meaning to and say, I was there when they talked about that. And so it doesn't have to be these big, well planned out things. It possibly is something you've already accidentally done that's just not repeated at predictable rhythm.
Yeah. I think that's the part that we want to encourage you to do today is look around. If you don't have these, or maybe you feel like they could be better or more intentional, we want you to look around and say, what is a part of our culture? Because it's happening on accident. So let's make it happen on purpose.
Yes.
What's a part of our culture that reinforces who we are, tells other people who they are, and find a way to bake those into a regular interval that everybody expects. Everybody knows it's coming. and they're excited about it.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
You don't know I'm going to ask you this, but can you think of like the most visible ritual that literally probably everybody this week has seen in their town from a company that we all know of? The one I'm thinking of, could you guess it?
Oh, gosh.
Promise you've been there.
I've been there this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reasonable you'd have been there multiple times this week.
Wow.
Come on.
I don't know.
Shopping?
Maybe a
Where
restaurant
have I been this week. Okay.
that has
You
a
think it's
drive-through.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, I don't know.
It just immediately comes to mind as rituals. Like,
yeah.
Of course, my pleasure, right?
Yep.
So, and they have so many other things in their training. I was really counting on Caleb to make he and I both look like a genius there. But he really screwed it up.
Yeah. He just.
But yeah, think of Chick-fil-A. Think of your favorite companies. Think of the way people answer their phones. These are rituals, right?
Mm-hmm. We talked about that last week.
Yeah. Think of the follow-up touch points you get. Think of, cleanliness and just the presentation of your company and the feel and the look and the smell of it is a ritual, right?
Yeah.
And what are you doing on purpose to create a obvious sense of who you are so that you attract the people you want to work with, both side by side in your business and work with as clients, customers, and the world that you want to just be a magnet for. I know some accountants, and I love you accountants. I know you're going here, but what does it cost, right? Before you ask that, I'm going to tell you what it gets you, right? Because some people are adding up, well, this takes a lot of time, or this takes, paying hourly employees to be in this room. And we've actually calculated it up. We spend tens of thousands of dollars in our company every year on
rituals,
time,
essentially.
On rituals, right?
Yeah.
But you might be interested to know that a research from Gallup indicated that teams engaging in regular celebrations or traditions of experience have a 19% increase in productivity compared to those without. 19%. How would you like to add 19% productivity to your output without spending any more money?
Wow.
Or a very small amount of money, right?
That's crazy.
McKinsey and Company revealed that organizations with clearly defined SOPs, which are generally can be ritualistic, outperform their competitors by 31%. How would you like to have a 30% gap on your competitors?
That's crazy.
It'd be wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Go ahead with the Harvard Business School. And
Harvard Business School found that performing group bonding activities, such as regular rituals, there's the keyword, led to a 16% increase in how meaningful employees judge their work to be.
And isn't that everything?
Yeah.
If you don't believe you're doing meaningful work, will you do meaningful work?
Not on purpose.
No, says I.
Yeah.
University of Toronto a few years back kind of looked at this from a different lens. The researchers measured that error-related negativity, what they call ERN, which is basically you're in the rhythm of doing something, so you continue to do it the right way because it's ritualized. When that's in place, your error-reduced negativity, which is essentially job dissatisfaction, was reduced after subject performed their rituals. In other words, participants were less focused on their mistakes, and that helped them stay closer to the moderate level of engagement with their performance under the Yerkes-Dodson law. So give us some other real examples from, we're going to talk about stuff inside our company and then stuff we see people we really like and admire and work with doing.
We already mentioned the gong, right? Yeah. That one actually, it's a ritual, but it doesn't have a regular interval. Yeah. So that one I would say maybe is an outlier as far as our rituals go. Some things we do consistently as a team is we always end and start our week with wins. So every Friday, everybody sends an email. We get it like a group email, and everybody replies with their work wins from the week, because guess what? The weekend erases your brain. Yeah. It's actually sleep that does it.
Yeah. We started in our Monday morning meeting and we started in our week. I love that.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. And then we go over them on Monday, which is pretty cool. We have this guy, this moss ball is,
Edgar.
We named him Edgar. He has some bald spots now. It was literally just a piece of decor that we had a designer that was interior designing our office and brought a bunch of orbs.
I wonder how much would be paid for this, Hobby Lobby orb.
Yeah.
Probably
and
like $100.
Or like, hey, we need something to acknowledge people. And so we grabbed it. And then each week somebody acknowledges somebody else they saw being a solid rock is what we call it.
Yep. And why is it a solid rock? Because this is something I just totally improvised. They were like, why is it a moss ball? And I'm like, well, it's solid rock and it's moss because a rolling stone doesn't collect moss. So if it's not a rolling stone, it must be solid, right?
Must be covered in moss.
It's a solid rock award. Yeah. It's been a slide in our Monday morning presentation or our ritual for 7 or 8, 9 years maybe.
Yeah.
And whoever had it last week passes it to the next person. And it's just awesome.
You actually have it this week.
I do have it this week.
Yeah.
Rare occasion. I think once in a blue moon I get it.
Yeah, you got it.
So for some friends of ours do this with a shoe, an old shoe.
Yeah.
And they have a story as to why it's a shoe. I can't even remember what it is.
Yeah.
It's
like an old
rusty sneaker.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Converse or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a quarterly ritual that we try to do, which is we call it Frank and Maven Day. That's where we get away and have like a team. Like team building can be a ritual. And that's a very intentional. It's not like we just goof around and play, but we also just work. We talk about how our company can be better, where it's going, and get everybody back in alignment. And then also we spend intentional time together. So
we have a lot of clients that have a daily text type ritual with either their sales teams or something like, and just either you could start out the day with a inspiring quote or an inspiring thought. I love one that my buddy out of St. Louis does. He has he has 14 or 15 branches around the U.S. and they all text in their sales numbers for the day at like 5:00. Like how many people they saw, how many deals they closed, and it creates a little friendly dialogue, maybe a little banter.
Yeah.
Definitely some accountability.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the guy showing up on that text group with goose eggs.
Yep.
And then it gives the business owner really good visibility as to who's happening. Speaking of that guy, he's calling me right now. It's funny. So you don't have to go religious with this example, but if you're looking for inspiration, churches do an awesome job at this. Life Church that I'm a part of, there's every single message I've been to, whether there's a guest speaker or not, there's just a kind of an affirmation thing you read back at the end of every sermon. There's also a pretty ritualistic, flow to some of the things that they do in terms of messaging and cues and things like that.
Yeah.
But pastors are really good at that. They should be, right?
Yeah. Well, and there is security inside of the church or outside of the church. There's security for you as a part of that congregation or organization that you feel like what's happening.
Yeah.
You feel a part of it. You know what's coming up next, and not in a way that it's boring or a giveaway. But it's also like I know what to expect. This Monday meeting we're gonna have is gonna be a lot like the one we had last week, but I'm excited about it because I know what's coming.
Yeah.
I think sometimes staff meetings, it's like we have a joke about family meetings, and you can have those, and it's like only when we have bad news or only when we have, it's like, no, that's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that there is a reason for it and that it's good or bad. We're having this meeting.
Yes.
Rain or shine, it's going. So,
and you can create some mystery inside the time blocks. You can also throw an Easter egg in there, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll throw in a guest speaker people don't see coming. So I think you understand that. But it's the things you say, it's the things you do. So let's talk about creating your ritual revolution. I love this idea that you don't need more tactics. You just need more traction. And traction happens when you kind of do the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to pick one ritual to start this week, either a huddle or a thing you say, and be prepared for it not to stick immediately. And don't be one of these, well, I tried that, it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't try it enough.
You didn't stick with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Give it a name. We have ours, it's called the Monday morning meeting. That's a really creative name. Or we have the solid rock, or we have the ring the gong moment, or we have fires and food moments, right? We have the podcast, right? Yeah, the Maven Marketing Podcast, right? So give it a name or give it a repeatable phrase. And then I would say these rituals, the lighter they are, the easier they're going to be to repeat. So don't try to climb a mountain. Do something small.
Yeah.
It could be your own internal secret ritual that you just say, I'm going to give 10 compliments before 10 a.m. today.
Yeah. That could be great.
Would that be wild?
Yeah. If you have one this is really powerful if you can do it. If you have somebody in your organization who is just on fire about this thing, empower them to lead it. Or maybe if you do like an accolade like our moss ball, that empowers whoever had it last to bring it next. You know, it's like if I got it last week, I'm going to have to name somebody next week.
Yeah.
And you set the tone off the bat, but also you can empower other people to lead this in a great way.
Love that. So if somebody shadowed your company this week, what would they say you're about based on the rituals and rhythm that you have going on? Would they even know? Or would they just be like, it's a bunch of people getting together to do work? Mm-hmm. It's not a good observation if that were to be the case. And if you're already doing a ritual rhythm that you think would be beneficial to our audience, we would love it if you would put that in the comments.
Drop in the comments. Or your new ritual. What are you going to do instead? Throw that ritual in the comments. Maybe if you don't have a name for it, we'll comment back and give you some clever names.
Yes. How about 5 quotes to close us out?
All right.
We grabbed them. We didn't incorporate them earlier, but very, very smart men and women reminding us. James Clear, this is Caleb's favorite. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Mm-hmm. Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit.
Steve Covey reminds us that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities.
This one's really good. John Maxwell for the win. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily.
Or weekly, like listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
It's a ritual.
You can listen to this podcast every day if you want to, though.
That's pretty much all you need to do.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins will bring us home. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. So if you're stuck on that, hey, we'd love to help. We'd love to find something that, if you're going, I'm a recycling company. How do I do a ritual? It's like we can find one.
Yeah. Sure. All my people are in trucks and they drive away from their house every day. And I don't know how we would come together for a ritual. There are ways to do these remotely in different ways. I promise you there's a way.
Yes.
So
love it. Hey, we'll be back here every Monday answering your real life marketing questions, because marketers who can't teach you why
are just a fancy lie.
I heard a ritual there. Have a great week. There was another one.